Close your eyes, keep your spine erect, focus on the breath. Let the Dhamma talk just sit in the background. You'll hear what you need to hear, but at all times maintain focus on the breath, because that's really what we're trying to cultivate here. In today's Dhamma talk, we're going to go over the Sutta SN 12, the city, or the ancient city. The scene is set in Savatthi, where Buddha describes to a group of monks. He was at that stage still an unawakened Bodhisattva. In this sutta, Buddha describes his contemplation of birth, aging, and death. At the end of the sutta, Buddha describes to the monks how at that point in time he had gained direct knowledge of fabrications, the origination of fabrications, the cessation of fabrications, and the path leading to the cessation of fabrications. It is this sutta that describes that path. In this sutta, Buddha describes an ancient city. And one day, he discovered an ancient path, and following that path, he arrived at an ancient city with majestic parks, land, walled and delightful, and seeing how valuable that ancient city was, he says that he would approach a king and suggest that we should rebuild that path, rebuild that city, for the benefit of all. And what is that path? It's the same path that has been discovered by all the blessed ones, the worthy ones, the rightly self-awakened ones. That path is the Noble Eightfold Path. Right view, right resolve, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. But in this sutta, Buddha shares with us not just the ancient city or the path, but it also reveals his discovery into causality, contemplating birth, aging, death. He investigated what are the requisite conditions. What are the requisite conditions for birth? Going back and forward, he came to the realization that name and form, mind and matter, has as a requisite condition consciousness, and consciousness in turn has a requisite condition on name and form, mind and matter, and dependent on name and form, there are the 6 sense bases. Dependent on the 6 sense bases, there is contact. Dependent on contact, there is feeling. Dependent on feeling, there is craving. Dependent on craving, there is clinging and sustenance. Dependent on clinging and sustenance, there is becoming. Dependent on becoming, there is aging, death, lamentation and despair. But should one follow this ancient path, then that path will lead to the cessation of birth, aging and death. It is in this sutta can we see Buddha highlighting when this, then that. When this isn't, that isn't. With the arising of this comes the arising of that. With the cessation of this comes the cessation of that. So how should this affect your breathing? You should know that each breath you take in the here and now is affecting what will happen next, what will follow. It is in each breath. When this, then that. When this isn't, that isn't. When this arises, that arises. When this ceases, that ceases. So make your breath skillful. Each breath as skillful as possible. And in this way, you are walking that ancient path.